With the summer months here, people are gonna come and visit, and Sloppy Joes are a great way to feed them all. But I've got the best Sloppy Joe recipe. I'm gonna show you how to do it coming up right now on Cooking with Chef Bryan. I love Sloppy Joes. They're one of my very favorite dishes ever. And because I think when I was a little kid, I could eat them and just be sloppy with them, and it was just fine to do that. And so I think that's why I really like Sloppy Joes. They're kind of one of those staple items with a group or a crowd or a party, friends, anything like that. But let me tell you, there's a way to make them that can really take them from an ordinary Sloppy Joe to an amazing Sloppy Joe. So first of all, I'm going to cut up an onion because I'm going to add the onion into the delicious Sloppy Joe base, and that's exactly what I'm going to call it. We're going to create a Sloppy Joe base, and so let's start first of all with an onion. Now I have chopped off the top and the bottom of the onion, and to cut an onion, actually, if you want to get really technical in the dicing, slide your cutting board right to the edge of it, take your hand flat onto it, you're going to slice into it horizontally, and then you're going to bring it back and slice down vertically into it. And then you're going to, depending on how large or thin those slices are, that will determine the dice of the onion. So now I have a perfectly diced onion. It's just one of those little cutting tricks that you can do. Personally, I'm going to tell you, when I do the onions, I don't worry about how it's going to look because I'm going to cook them up, and I'm not trying to produce something that looks like it is made in a shop or a manufacturing facility. I want it to look like it's homemade. So I just generally slice down, and then I'm going to just take my knife and dice through those slices. Let's turn on our pan and get that heated, started, because we're going to saute up these onions and we're going to get those nice and flavorful. Now, a lot of times I always love it in the summertime because fresh garlic comes out. Throw these in the trash here. Fresh garlic comes out and it always comes into a clove. Well, how do you get those little cloves out of the head of garlic? Well, you turn it upside down, root side up, and you just give it a little press down on your cutting board, just like that. And then that breaks, see those cloves break out of there. And depending on how hard you press down on it will determine on how many of those cloves break out of there. Now to get the clove, the little paper part away from it, just take your knife, give it a little smash on there, and that's going to help to just peel that paper right away. And if it doesn't come off well the first time, take your knife, give it a little smash again, and then there we go. It just peels right off of there, and you've got your nice little garlic clove. So that's how easy it is to pull the garlic out of the head to the cloves, to pull the paper right off of it. Now let's just mince that up real quick. And this is going to be the base of our Sloppy Joes. Yum, I can't wait. Okay, pan is heating up. I'm going to add just enough olive oil to lightly coat the bottom of the pan. And we're going to begin to saute up the onions and the garlic. And they're going to become very, very fragrant. I love the smell of onion and garlic. I have to say, as a child, one of my biggest childhood memories is of my mom's hands, believe it or not, smelling of onion. Isn't that just funny that you remember those things? It's not like she walked around putting her hands in onion all the time, but when she would cook, I just remember that aroma on her hands when she would hug me. I could smell the onion on there. So now we're going to get these nice and caramelized and just really just flavorful, because when you caramelize up something, it actually sweetens it and brings out those flavors in the food. So we're going to let those cook for just a moment while we slice up some tomatoes. And summertime, oh, those fresh garden tomatoes are going to be coming on. I can't wait. We would literally go out as into the garden and just pick the tomatoes right off the vines, wash them off, sometimes wash them off. Don't tell that we didn't wash them off all the time. But we would just slice them and put a little bit of salt and pepper on them and eat them almost like apples. Oh, I remember that. And we would get in so much trouble because we would kind of go through and eat a lot of them. And so I think some summers after that, my parents, grandparents and that would plant cherry tomato plants just for us kids so that we could go through and pick those off and have some fun with the tomatoes and deliciousness. So now you can just slice these up. It doesn't matter how large or small you slice these because they're going to cook down. And so I'll just kind of slice it open, just like that. These are Roma tomatoes, and I do like using Roma tomatoes a little bit better because they have a little more meat on them. They're not quite as juicy. And so we'll just use the Roma tomatoes in these today, or whatever's on sale, or whatever you have growing in your garden. So let's add that right to it. There we go. Let's begin to let this saute around, and oh, I wish you were in the kitchen. You could smell this. This reminds me also of Italy. When I was in the Tuscan region around lunch and dinner time, you would just start to smell these aromas of onion and garlic and tomatoes and oregano. It was fantastic. Ah, just delicious, delicious. Okay, now to this, I'm going to add a little bit of tomato paste. This is actually an Italian version of tomato paste, and I do like to use the oregano and the Italian-based one simply because it adds more flavor to what I'm cooking here. So that's kind of one of those nice things that you can do to add more flavor. I hope now you can see those tomatoes are beginning to cook down, and we're getting this nice little liquid base in here. Now that is looking great. As far as the hamburger, I do like to use a leaner cut hamburger because I don't like as much fat in here. And especially when I'm creating a base like this, I want to cook the hamburger in it so the flavors infuse into the hamburger. If I have a really fatty hamburger, well, then I'm going to have too much fat in there to cook it. So use it, if you're doing it this way, use a lean one. If you have hamburger already, just simply brown it first, drain off that excess fat, create your base like I'm doing now, and then add the hamburger into it and start to cook it. And so you just have to be careful of the fat. There's nothing wrong. We have so villainized fat in our diets today, which is scary because fat is healthy in the right portions. And so you just have to be careful, be aware of it, and get this meat browned up and everything. Now there is a little secret ingredient that I have that I love to add into my sloppy joes, and I think you're going to love it too. It's very delicious, and of course I am going to add a little bit of ketchup, a little bit of mustard into it. These are not the secret ingredients, so when we come back, I'll show you the trick to really bring this sloppy joe up to quite an amazing flavor. I think a little Dijon mustard would go well too. Don't go away. I'll be right back.
Hot and fresh from your oven. Rhodes.
Welcome back, everyone. If you're just joining me, I'm showing you how to do Chef Bryan's famous sloppy joes. These are one of those treats that just feed an army. It's easy to put together if you have family or friends coming over for any holiday event, but there are some tips and tricks to making them just that much more delicious. I started off with a base of garlic and onion and sliced tomatoes, added into there a little bit of tomato paste, which is an Italian style version tomato paste, so it has all those flavors of Italy in there. And now what I'm going to do is add my secret ingredient. Ooh, well, I don't know, it's just one of my favorites. Pork and beans. So this is one of those things that I add in for the flavor because I like the beans. They add texture to the meat, they add the liquid to it, and also the flavor of the pork. And so this is one of these great ways that you can actually make, if you want to just expand out how many sloppy joes and how many people you're feeding. By adding beans to it, you really can bring out a lot of the flavors, and you can make that go a little bit longer. And so now I have pork and beans sloppy joes. How's that for fantastic? I can't wait. Now I'm just going to add into it my favorite little seasoning packet. And so this is just one of those. You can buy a sloppy joe packet if you want to. Whatever you want to add the seasoning, you can do salt and pepper, chili powder, you can add chili sauce into it, whatever you would like to. It's very easy to do. And now this is going to cook up, be beautiful. We're going to let this reduce down so that we have a nice thick base for our sloppy joes, and so it'll be delicious. So I'll turn the heat down on that and let that just continue simmering up and cooking away. Now what I want to create is a really delicious salad. Now salads are one of those things that you must have, I think, with any meal. I just love the crunch, the texture, the freshness. It just really adds flavor. But this is a very unique salad, and we're going to start with some parsnips here. And what I've done is I've peeled the parsnips, and I wanted to show you the type of peeler that I'm using. Maybe we can just get a nice close-up of that. This is a serrated edge peeler, and if you can see that, the blade actually is serrated in there. And what that does is it allows me to peel things that are a little coarser in the skins. And so like parsnips have a little coarser skin on them. This serrated peeler does wonderfully with that. And so you can peel those off. I've even peeled, believe it or not, squash with that. So that's just kind of fun with the serrated peelers. You can pick those up at Macy's, has them, department store. Macy's department store's got them there in the kitchen thing. Now I have the grating blade on here, so I'm going to grate these up. It's almost going to be kind of like a coleslaw, but not quite. Let's grate those up. Okay, so that's in there. Now, here's another little trick that I'm doing. I have ginger. This is a fresh ginger root. This is going to add just a little bit of heat to it, and it's going to give it just that nice little flavor. I love fresh ginger. It's just so delicious. I'm just cutting down off the skin that may be on there. If it doesn't need to be peeled or anything, you don't have to do that. It's just up to you. I've washed these carrots. They're fairly new carrots, and so I'm not going to bother about peeling them because they look just fine. Now I'm going to chop these into more manageable pieces. I'm going to add them into there, and we're going to shred these up with the ginger and the parsnips. And so just turn that on. Let that just kind of do its thing. And now I'll finish putting these in there in just a second. But this is an endive, and you remember I talk a lot about textures, I talk about flavors, I talk about just all of these, just the robust textures and flavors of food. Endives are a great one, but they're bitter. So it's going to add this nice little flavor of bitterness to our salad that's going to accompany the sweetness of the dressing. Now the dressing is a very simple thing. You can actually put any of your favorite Italian dressing on there. I just have a prepared one. You can make your own vinaigrette if you want to. Let's add that in. We're going to shred that up in with that also. There we go. So now we have this nice little salad, fresh salad of parsnips, of carrots. There's endives in there, and remember my cherry tomatoes story? Well, you know, I had to add the cherry tomatoes into there because I remember and love those from my childhood. So go ahead, just put that right into there. It's kind of a nice little coleslaw that we've got going on. Let me move some of these things out of my way back here. There we go. Sloppy Joes are cooking up nicely. I'm going to give this just a little toss just like that to combine everything together. Oh, and the ginger, just the aroma of that ginger in there is magnificent. Oh, I can't wait for you to try it. Just a prepared Italian dressing. You can make your own vinaigrette if you want to. I do like to add this on fairly soon. Let it marinate in there. And then we have this nice little coleslaw that we can serve with our Sloppy Joes. So let's just kind of mix that in, let that marinate together. And then what I like to do, add into this little coleslaw, is a blue cheese. Now blue cheese, feta cheese, any of these types of cheese, don't add them in until right before you're ready to serve, especially if you have a dressing in there, because it's going to just disintegrate. The cheese will disintegrate. So just before we're ready to serve it, we'll add the cheese into there and let that go to the service table. Looks like our Sloppy Joes are coming along nicely. And what's a Sloppy Joe dinner without dessert? I'll show you a really easy dessert when I come back. Special thanks to our friends at Klondike Potatoes for helping to make this segment possible. Welcome back, everybody. If you're just joining me, I am making the most amazing Sloppy Joes base here with onions and garlic. There's pork and beans in it and all kinds of flavors. It's just kind of simmering down now and thickening up. A little ketchup, some Dijon mustard. and we put together a wonderful coleslaw with carrots and parsnips and endives and fresh ginger. How does that sound for a great coleslaw? Now in here we're going to create this really easy dessert. It's very easy. These are just some frozen mangoes and raspberries that I have. If you have fresh ones that you want to use, you certainly could do that. It's just that they were on sale, and frozen is just fine for what I'm going to do with them. I'm going to add a little bit of sugar in there to sweeten those up, and you really just want to do that to taste. And then I'm going to puree this together. You can tell that I use a food processor quite a bit in the kitchen. I think it just works really well. So just puree those up. There you go. And it's really basically a jam that I have in there, so it's very easy to put together. Now I just have some Greek yogurt. This is a vanilla flavored yogurt, and I'm going to add this into a large bowl, because now what I'm going to do is fold this puree into this vanilla yogurt. And so this is going to be basically a topping. You know, you have whipped toppings that you put onto fruit. Well, we're going to use this yogurt topping with our freshly pureed raspberries and mango to go into there. And so really, if you don't need all of it, you're just going to add enough to taste into there and to color and deliciousness, I should say. So let's just kind of start with that much, fold that into there. This is also a very easy way if you wanted to do a parfait. You can make a parfait with the layers of the yogurt and the puree on that if you want to. Add some fresh fruit into it. It would be delicious. Okay, there we go. Let's add just a little bit more into that. There we go. Just kind of fold that into there. So see, rather than using whipped cream, which you absolutely could do, I decided to be kind of nice, a little different version, to use a yogurt in there. You could use any flavor of yogurt. If you don't want to do vanilla, you could certainly do like a strawberry or banana or blueberry or any of those fruit flavored yogurts that you wanted to. Okay, so now that's looking nice. It's nice and folded in. I've got this nice little parfait, this base of pureed raspberries. I've got a pureed mangoes in there, and you can do whatever you would like as far as fruit. If you have some fruit that you like and prefer a little bit better than what I've added, just go ahead and use whatever you would like in there. So now, like I was saying, I have a delicious little pound cake I just purchased here. It's very easy. You can make your own pound cake if you want to, but why? I can just purchase it. It'd be great. So I'm just going to fold that off of there, just like that. There we go. I'm going to get my knife here, and I'm going to slice down into some slices. Move that so you can see a little bit better. There we go. And then I think I want a little platter to put these on. Let's go to the platter drawer here and grab one. Or just a plate, a bright little plate with some yellow around it. Looks nice and springy. Put this, and then you can just kind of let that lie down so that it has this nice little slant on it. There you go. You could do this on a large elongated platter. It just doesn't matter, however you'd like to do it. Let's grab a big spoon for our thing. I didn't grab one. Hang on just a second. Come with me over to the cupboard. Grab a big spoon. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this delicious mixture that we just put together, and I'm going to spoon it right over the top of our pound cake. So it will be delicious with our pound cake. And then this is all ways that you can serve a large group. And so see, if you do something like this, you don't have to individually serve it. You can just serve a large piece like that with, I'm gonna lick my finger. Nobody's in the kitchen but me. I'm gonna lick my finger. And you can see now that I've got this delicious parfait over there with the Greek yogurt, which is a vanilla flavored, with the flavor of the fruit. Oh, it is fantastic. Our sloppy joes are finished here. All we have left to do is to put all of this together. But boy, have I got a trick with that coleslaw. I can't wait to show you what I'm gonna do with that. That is a delicious one. Don't go away. I'll be right back. We'll finish up this delicious, famous sloppy joe mixture when we come back. Welcome back, everybody. We're finishing up these delicious sloppy joes. To me, it's the only way to feed a crowd. It's an easy way to feed a crowd, and they're always delicious. Now I have my blue cheese here. I'm gonna add my blue cheese right into the coleslaw that we made earlier that has parsnips and carrots and endives and fresh ginger ground up into it. And of course, my favorite little cherry tomatoes in there. I'm gonna fold into it this delicious blue cheese. If you're not a blue cheese fan, you can add whatever kind of cheese you want. It doesn't really matter. I happen to love blue cheese. This is nice and marinated in our Italian dressing. So it is ready to go now. So now I'm just gonna serve this. Like I said, it's kind of the whole thing today is all about serving things family style or group style. It's easy to do. You just serve them up. You don't have to have individual servings. Just put them all on a platter. And this is the nice thing. Remember I was telling you, when I was a kid, I loved sloppy joes because you didn't have to be perfect. They could be sloppy all over a plate and nobody would be upset with you if that was the case. Just spooning on our sloppy joe mix onto here, onto each one of those. Oh, this smells so good. So good. There we go. Now, what I wanted to show you was you could do a couple of things with the coleslaw itself. If you wanted to, you could actually top off some of the sloppy joes with the coleslaw, or you could serve the coleslaw on the side. It doesn't really matter. So we'll put coleslaw on 3 of these, and then we'll top these off with some, just the little tops here to go with it. And so here's a great way to do a family style sloppy joe, a little different with the pork and beans in there and all the flavors, the Italian flavors. If you don't want the coleslaw on the burger itself, you can actually serve it to the side of it if you'd want to. So it's very easy to do. Salt and pepper, of course, naturally to taste. Great way to serve a whole crowd here. I love it. It's just so easy to do with this. And I've had friends that have actually done the sloppy joes with like venison and or game meat such as that. You could use chicken if you're not a beef person, but I like the beef. And you could use turkey or whatever you wanted to with there. If you're not a pound cake, you could use an angel food cake on this. And so really, it's very variety of whatever you have at home. You could even make up your own cake if you wanted to and just serve that little yogurt fruit glaze, so to speak, right over top of it. It's just an easy way to feed a crowd. Of course, these recipes go right on over to the cookingwithchefbryan.com website. You can find these recipes as well as thousands of other recipes, all for free. You don't have to sign up for anything. They're just there for you to use. And of course, I love to see you all on social media. You can find me on all the platforms on Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, LinkedIn. Oh, what are they all? You forget Instagram at this point. Chef Bryan Woolley on Instagram. There's so many of them at this point. Well, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoy your sloppy joes and your very easy way to put a dessert together. Food for a family. Enjoy, everyone. I'll see you all next time.